early. I recently sat down with him during his trip to Los Angeles. Here's our exclusive conversation. Mr. Secretary, first time I get to say this, welcome to The Story Is, our new show.
Thank you. Congratulations on the new show.
Thank you very much. It's the first time I've seen you in person with the facial hair. And,
oh, right.
And I like it. Is this going to stay for the presidential run?
Yeah, we'll see how long it stays.
Well, speaking of your future, you're in this sort of interesting time in your life. After being in elected office or running for elective office for so long, you've got this break now. What are you up to in that break, and how is it sort of maybe changing the way you see things?
Well, I love public service. I love being involved in public affairs, but honestly, I really love right now not being in office and not being on the ballot. I've been able to spend more time with the twins, our children. Our son and daughter turned 4 this summer. I've been able to just live into our home in Michigan more, but of course, also doing everything I can for causes and candidates I believe in.
You've also spent time in Virginia and New Jersey campaigning there. What's your main message in those races in the final days?
Well, it's that we have an opportunity to send a message and get good leadership at the same time. I think a lot of people, voters, have felt a little bit disempowered. The intensity of the Trump administration's actions are designed to make you feel like there's nothing you can do even if you disagree. Mm-hmm. But there is something you can do if you live in one of these communities, one of these states.
The mayor of New York is also up for election right now. You're not campaigning there. Would you vote for Zoran Mandami if you were living in New York?
I mean, I don't live in New York, but I think he has the capacity to be a great mayor. He, I think, right now has been taking a lot of steps that are not just about winning, but about trying to bring people together, which is something that I think a lot of people didn't see in him or expect from him earlier on in the campaign. So he hasn't asked me for an endorsement. I don't think he needs me in order to win, but I think it's a really important and exciting race to watch.
So you've been more impressed by him than by Andrew Cuomo?
I mean, Andrew Cuomo has disqualified himself in so many ways, including morally. And that's just one of many reasons why I think so many New Yorkers are going to vote for Mamdani.
Are there lessons that can be learned from the Mamdani campaign about communicating, something you've studied so closely over the years as well, as the Democratic Party tries to think differently about talking with voters?
Absolutely. Look, he represents a different part of the coalition, the Democratic coalition, than I do. I think certainly further to the left than where I find myself. But a lot of the things he's talking about, the focus on affordability and the discipline of staying focused on that, I think is an example of something that campaigns everywhere, from very left-leaning places like a Democratic primary in New York City to places like Michigan or Indiana, can pay attention to. Maybe not all of those policies. I don't think most people in most of the country are on board with some of the policies that are more to the left end of the spectrum, but just the idea that the job of anybody in office right now is to try to make it a little easier to afford to live in America.
Indiana it just recently decided not to gerrymander. Why do you think they got there? And I know that you think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think there's 2 reasons. One, the legislators who were being pressured by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance to do this knew on some level that it was wrong. And the other reason is that a lot of us participated in putting some pressure on those legislators by reminding them that the people of the state did not want this. They openly talked about creating a 9-0 map, meaning that 9 out of 9 congressional races in the state of Indiana would be decided before anybody went to the polls. And so we saw something that you would be told is impossible, which is Republican elected officials saying no to Donald Trump. And he was calling them to twist their arms. J.D. Vance went personally to Indiana to lobby for this, and they said no, which means that kind of pressure can work. And I think that's a really important lesson because it punctures that fake wall of inevitability that the Trump White House tries to create around everything that they do.
You're saying that, but yet you've endorsed California's version of gerrymandering, which would knock out a bunch of Republican seats. Isn't that kind of hypocritical?
It's not the same thing for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Indiana proposal cut out the voters completely. Legislators were just going to create this new map. The California proposal is literally going to the voters. That's what we're endorsing in the proposition. It's a proposition everybody gets to vote on. But let's back up from this. Of course, we would be better off if there was no gerrymandering. I believe in fair, districts across the country. And this proposition, which is an emergency measure, would hand it back to the bipartisan commission when the next turn of the decade happens and the next redistricting happens. But the point is, if some other state is going to try to do this, then a state like California shouldn't sit on its hands and just unilaterally let that happen.
Let's talk for a moment about you. You're thinking about running for president, right? I mean, is that fair to say? You're thinking about it?
I mean, I'm a long way from any kind of decision, but obviously it's not like it hasn't come up.
So what's the thought process like?
Anytime I've decided to run for office, I've looked at what the office calls for, and in that moment, and I've looked at what I bring to the table and compared that to what others might bring to the table. And I've followed that process probably 5 or 10 times in my career. And sometimes I've decided to run after going through that thinking. And other times, including this year when I decided against running for Senate and for governor in Michigan, I went through that process and I said, no, it doesn't quite fit, it doesn't quite match. So anytime I might run for office in the future, it's going to be the same thing. Looking at what's needed, looking at what I might have to offer. And then obviously also this is a family kind of decision with a whole different weight to it now that I'm a parent, which wasn't true until some of the decisions that I was making this year.
Obviously, there was a lot made of when Kamala Harris didn't pick you for VP and wrote about the fact that she didn't think the country was ready for a gay man. How does that impact you emotionally? How does sort of what's happening for gay people in the country right now impact you emotionally when you see what that thought process is even out there?
Well, what impacts me emotionally is knowing what people are up against, risking being fired or worse over who they love or over who they are. For me, I mean, worse things can happen to a guy than not winding up as Vice President of the United States. I wouldn't have run for president if I didn't believe that the American people can look at you for who you are despite some of what you've been told in the past. And I wouldn't have won Iowa if a large number of people weren't ready to do that.
What do you say to people, especially in the LGBTQ community right now, who are scared?
First of all, you're not alone. That there are so many people who, including a majority of Americans, who don't believe in discrimination, who believe in your safety and your rights and your existence. And I know that people are scared. People come up to me all the time. This is a community that is under attack. From time to time, in politics, here or anywhere else, there is some disfavored community that is singled out for attacks to benefit some politician. And right now, a lot of the people who are being singled out for those attacks are people in the LGBTQ community, especially the trans community. But that never wins the day in the long run because Americans know that mistreating people is wrong.
Let's end with a couple fun things. It's about to be Halloween. What's Halloween like at your house?
Well, it's going to be pretty chaotic. We've gone through the costume selection process.
What are we going to be?
We got firefighter for Gus, predictable, but still,
Who doesn't
very much
love a fire,
true to
especially
his
here in
personal
SoCal?
style.
Yes.
Our daughter found this outfit that I think is, it doesn't say this on the package, but I think it's the Bette Midler character from Hocus Pocus. It's got the orange hair and everything like
Nice.
that. She calls it Princess Witch.
Yeah.
Haven't decided whether we're going to go in costume
Oh,
or
come
not.
on. What would you go? What are you thinking about?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you can't go wrong with astronaut. I guess we'll come up with something.
And rapid fire questions to end things. What is your favorite TV show you're binging right now?
Oh, Slow Horse is so good. I'm glad that that's back. And trying to decide whether to get into Silo. It came out a while ago, but something about the world building is kind of.
What's
absorbing.
the best book you've read lately?
Ooh. I am in the middle of this book called The Other Name. Or it's a series of 7 short books by an author who won the Nobel Prize recently. Jon Fosse is his name, Fosse. It's, I don't know, I can't describe it. It's very simple and complicated at the same time. I don't know.
Kind of like you.
It's really beautiful.
Simple and complicated at the same time. There's the metaphor, right?
It's beautiful.
Favorite kids show that you guys are into?
Oh, Bluey. Definitely Bluey.
Very nice.
Although as a parent, I mean, you just can't live up to the parenting that you see in Bluey. But it gives us something to aspire to.
What's the best Halloween candy?
Peanut butter cups.
Reese's, right?
Clearly.
Yeah. And lastly, describe a perfect day for you.
Oh, wow. I guess it's a day when I I get up on time, manage to get a workout in. Kids get up at about the right time, manage to brush their teeth and get dressed, and we have a fun conversation on the way to drop them off at school. And then I read about things that are really interesting and meet with people working on things that I care about, and have lunch with Chasten, and I'm there to help get everything ready when he picks the kids up, and watch a really good TV show after they go down, but not before we've read a few stories and had a fun time. It's never perfect because it's so chaotic with kids, but it's funny. I'm such a dad now, but I guess it just happens. Like I used to think of like travel and adventure, which I still love, as like the ideal day, but a lot of times right now an ideal day for me is
just to be at home. Be at home with the kids. Secretary Pete Buttigieg, great to see you. Thank you so much for the time, and great to have you as one of our first guests on The Story Is. Thank you.